So, stay home, wash your hands, and please, wear a mask. Hi. It's been a while. In fact, it has been about 16 months since the last time I did any kind of vlog. A fair bit has gone down in that particular span of time. So, here's a quick little rundown. The government is raising taxes, ending the work furlough, and cutting financial aid. Supply shortages are happening nationwide, several utility companies are shutting down, and this is anticipated to be one of the harshest winters in many years, owing both to climate change and, well, a fair few other things going on. Transphobia is on the rise, and meanwhile trust in the police in the wake of a policeman known to be a problem murdering a woman is at possibly an all-time low. Oh yes, very significant, given the last update. The pandemic remains very much a huge problem, very much in full swing, and very much predominantly, completely and totally ignored. We had 800 people die in the last week, and there was some 243,000-ish cases as well, which is about 5 times as high as it was last year. So, now that we're comfortably depressed, let's get a little bit more personal. So, obviously, video content has still occurred in the past year, but it has definitely been very slow. I have gone substantial periods without making any videos, just putting up VODs to hopefully keep you all entertained. But most of the time I've been looking to get a video out a week, and that's probably not gonna change in the very near future, I will say. It's mostly because of reduced spoons. When you have substantially more stress on your plate, and also there's, like, limits on your cognitive ability per day, called spoons for short, you tend to have lower limits, especially if it is a protracted event lasting in excess of 2 years. So, yeah, with fewer spoons, and also less meaningful distinction between any given day, really. The vast majority of my days this past year could not be distinguished by themselves. You would actually need to have a calendar up. It's been kind of difficult to have a quote-unquote good day. Pretty much any small thing can upset my production schedule at this point. It does not take very much. Because I just have to spend all of my spoons mostly on survival. So creative energies do kind of take a back seat there, unfortunately. It's also been complicated by, you're currently of course seeing this through my Canon camera here, and over here we have my Focusrite we have my, God, I've completely forgotten the brand of this particular microphone. It's a very good microphone, would recommend it. But it's running from my Focusrite splitter and such into Elemental. Elemental was built for Chaosville, which was quite a while ago, and though he has had his parts upgraded and such over time, he is very much showing his age. He needs new hard drives, new RAM, probably a new processor at this point, definitely new graphics cards, but the rise of NFTs and crypto have made a global shortage on circuits, so, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon, and that would be assuming I could actually afford it. Yeah, things, in terms of content production, are probably not going to get much better anytime soon. That said, streams are still going on. Live streams are still running. We now have a Patron Games Day monthly, if you happen to be any level of patron, so that's just something that I can fairly reliably do. I more or less just had to set aside a day, and then I can get to that. I'm frequently quite sleepy because my sleep schedule is basically non-existent, but nonetheless, that happens. New Millennia is still going on. It hasn't been cancelled by any stretch. It was just sort of surplus to how I, need to spend spoons on basics everyday survival. They said inside of a house that is currently completely unheated. Yeah, that's going well. This is still depressing, isn't it? I'm still being very depressing here. Well, it's time for costume change. 1 second. That's a little more comfortable. Be thankful, Internet, this is the closest you are ever getting to seeing me topless. Just by the by. You may rightfully ask, lying, why does your costume change require that you be shirtless? Okay, so, about a month after the last vlog, June 30th, 2020, to be exact, I started taking HRT medication. This is to say I've been on this for about 15 months now. I am therefore shirtless to demonstrate a couple, at least, of the changes resulting from that entire experience, and that this is not some kind of gag, despite my fairly jovial demeanor. I hasten to note, I say started taking specifically because I'm still very much on the gender clinic waiting list, and I have been for about 3 years now, and I expect I still will be for at least another 2 years, probably closer to a decade, because that also isn't to actually get HRT, that is to get an appointment, wherein they will then decide some future appointments might happen where you might be prescribed HRT medication on the NHS. Between the pandemic and transphobia and all manner of budget cuts to the NHS over the past decade, by the same government in power, no less, it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a while. So consequently, I have pursued the magnificently, wonderfully intelligent and smart and definitely safe plan of what is referred to as DIY HRT in the transgender community, which is to say it is legally grey and significantly expensive because I am buying the HRT medication online and administering it completely blind. Well, not entirely completely blind, but no diagnostic criteria, no medical license, none of that. This is naturally dangerous, ill-advised, and I do not recommend this to any young eggs that might be watching. That said, I am, and I understand why so many trans people ultimately pursue this particular course of action, given the barriers put against us. Yeah, that was another thing that maybe happened and should have mentioned over the past year. Yeah, I'm trans. I'm trans in a really weird way that I'll get to momentarily. That disclaimer out of the way, what exactly have I seen in the past 15 months? Because I gather you'll want to know, because you simply didn't get the day-by-day of it. First thing that happened was aching and soreness, especially around the nipple area, which, yeah, you could see that part coming. I don't need to tell you about that part, I imagine. That has eased off in more recent months. Like, those were annoyances. I had trouble, sleeping on my side or definitely my front, that kind of thing, but it eased off in the first, 6 months or so, wasn't a huge, magnificent problem, suffice to say. After that, and also midway through it, I guess, my appetite soared. I was hungry all the time. And to some extent, I still am hungry all of the time, which is fine by me, because I needed to be eating more anyways. And I admit my diet is not necessarily the most healthy on the planet by any stretch of the imagination. There are so little salads involved and whatnot. But, yeah, so I started, as a consequence of that, gaining a bunch more weight, which my doctor applauded and, in fact, gave me doctor's orders to gain more weight. Because I don't think you needed to see me shirtless before to know that, yeah, I was a twig. I still kind of am. I'm still, I'm not meaty by any stretch of the imagination, but I have gained about 20 pounds this year, so I'm at least closer to a healthy weight. A fair tonnage of that has gone to my butt, I will say. The medication does affect where exactly my body stores new mass, so alas. Obviously a bit of it went up top, but a bunch of it also went to my stomach, which was kind of a sore spot for me to begin with. So if you check out the streams, I say recently, like a month or two ago, added some stream rewards, so that if you're in the chat for long enough, you can make me do squats, or you can make me do curls to, like, build my biceps, and such. And I will say, I have seen some improvement from that, so thank you to everyone on stream, making me suffer on the regular. Yay. Obviously, the big headliner for this whole experience is the booba. Yeah, okay. How do I put this in a manner that will not get me demonetized on YouTube? I'm not monetized on YouTube. I can't be demonetized on YouTube, therefore, okay. I'm currently a 34A, which is not by any stretch of the imagination a big size. That said, I've got a long road ahead of me. Growth in that particular area does not stop for, like, the first 5 years, and I'm, like, not even a year and a half in. Also, that's actually pretty damn fast. The vast majority of trans women and trans femme people that I've spoken to more or less said don't expect anything within the first 3 years. Nothing significant, anyways. And here I am, basically a year and a half in, and I've already got, like, substantial measurable cup sizes. Like, that's pretty damn good. I'm kind of mildly blown away by how quickly that's gone. Oh, I forgot I put this on the list. Okay, this has been in the news recently, this would be interesting. So, trans women don't have cervixes. Usually. There's no 100% when it comes to any human population group, but usually, trans women don't have cervixes, and they frequently don't have uteruses or ovaries or anything. And this has led to the popular belief that trans women do not experience periods or menstrual cycles of any kind. Understandable, given that they're kind of the headlining elements of it. But it's not the uterus that actually manages periods. It's actually the hypothalamus, which is effectively the hormone control center inside of your brain. And that, pretty much damn near every single human being has, regardless of their gender or birth sex or anything. So a couple of months ago, I was lying in bed at night, and I couldn't tell if I was feeling hungry, like ravenously hungry, or if I was feeling nauseous. And after a fair hunk of consideration and comparison with people who do experience these things, I realized what I was experiencing was a menstrual cramp. I would then also started having, like, swelling and bloating, water retention. Definitely affected my mood, but then I imagine it would affect anyone's if they were feeling like their stomach was trying to deglove an organ every hour of the day. I did get some parts of that checked out, make sure I wasn't, like, having some disastrous bowel problem or something. But no, totally fine. Vanished in a couple of days. Actually vanished before I even was able to go to the appointment that I made to find out what was going on, so that kind of didn't help the diagnostic process, I admit, but still. And then it came back a month later, almost to the day. Lasted about 4 or 5 days, and then off we go again. It's actually probably going to be starting in the next couple of days, so this is wonderful timing. By the time you see this, I'll be in agony. Yeah, I checked this out with the transgender community, the trans femmes especially, and what appears to be the case is that this is not something that has had a whole ton of research into it, if any, because trans people are always bottom of the list for research ideas. But there is overwhelming amounts of anecdotal reports from trans women, from trans feminine people with estrogen and all sorts, that they experience a monthly recurrent cycle of symptoms that are, by many accounts, identical in nature and experience to a full-blown cis woman's period cycle. Obviously, we don't bleed, unless you cut us or shoot us or all sorts of things, but not from the cycle. If you do bleed from that cycle, then you probably have some concerns that are be quite justified. But turns out, whilst this is not a universal experience, I fall into the population, or the subcategory of the population of trans people who, as a consequence of their HRT medication, have kicked their hypothalamus into function and experience a menstrual cycle. Wasn't expecting that, I have to say. That one kind of took me by surprise. It's not pleasant, but I'd say it's welcome. If that makes any sense. Which I guess means it is now time for me to address the somewhat elephant in the room. So, I've talked about all this, by the way, on stream, about this past June when I did my birthday stream on a beach-ish. But, I identify as a man. I identify as a guy, a dude, a bro, or whatever you want to call it, and I was assigned as such when I was born. Debate whether that's accurate or not. Anyways, but all of which would generally land me under the category of being a cisgender person, meaning identifies with my birth assigned gender, meaning surprise, they flipped a coin and got it right. But I have spent years wearing breast forms. I have spent years talking to trans people, and the prevailing consensus from them for the longest damn time was that I might identify as my birth gender, but I am intensely trans. I think it was put very succinctly by one trans woman, when I was worried I might be accidentally invading a trans space, which was, cis people don't seek out hormones because their body makes them dysphoric. And that kind of, like, sat with me for a while. I let that one marinate. And it just, like, you're right. Generally speaking, when cis people want to change their body because they're not happy for it, they, like, get implants onto things they already have. Or they get, like, a nip and a tuck or whatever. They don't actually pursue hormone replacement therapy and such, or I guess in my case more hormone addition, to change aspects of their body that aren't there to begin with. That's generally only done by people who are trans. And so much of my experience overlaps with the trans experience, so I guess I'm in this really weird condition where I'm just, like, right on the borderline between cis and trans, and there's a Venn diagram circle around me. So yes, I will confess that this is a weird thing to explain, that I am both cis and trans, despite the fact that these are typically understood to be exclusive categories. But human biology is messy, human gender is arguably even messier, because it's not actually tethered to anything real, and this is not, like, something that I have just come up with and figured, hey, you know what, that sounds cool, I'll put that into my D&D character next week or something. No, this is something that has taken me years to figure out, and I strongly resisted being identified as trans because I didn't want to, like, co-opt anything from trans people, but now the trans people also yell at me that I'm trans. So, yeah, I guess I've finally come around to the notion. It's still very weird. It's still very strange. But, yeah, I'm classed in some areas of the internet as being non-binary, and maybe that's a thing I'll come to eventually. But for the time being, gender non-conforming fits the best, especially now. It's a little hard to ignore that. So I am a man, I just don't look like one. That is the easiest way I've ever had of explaining it. Hey, so what happens next is I keep taking these meds until such time as I hear from the NHS, and they actually give me a full-blown prescription so that I don't have to pay for them and administer them without any kind of, like, actual medical support and knowledge, that kind of thing. And hopefully that's fairly soon, but I wouldn't really hold out too much hope on that. In the meantime, you can subscribe to the Patreon, where you can help support my general needs in, like, just across the board, keep this whole operation running and such. Help me buy additional Bulbasaur figures, because best sore. Also, every month, the first donation goal of the streams is always about covering any outstanding medication costs, because it is not cheap, and I do have to pay it basically every month. So if you happen to have some spare cash and want to drop in on stream, you can check it that way. Video content will hopefully improve. It really is a matter of the world being a little less on fire in the near future. But hopefully it will improve. But the streams are not going anywhere, so if you want to see me ideally wearing a shirt or something, usually a tank top I have to admit, or such, then head out to twitch.tv/lyinginbedmon. And otherwise, hope you've had a nice day. Hope you're having some kind of good time. I'll catch you all as ever next time.
You wouldn't give your name and credit card information to an archfey, but you can give your name and credit card information to me at patreon.com/lying, where you can get access to monthly rewards like custom audio clips, early video releases, behind-the-scenes content, and the monthly Patreon Games Day, all for as little as $1 a month. So to support future content, that's patreon.com/lying.